I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and joining me is my co-host Jim Sarro.
Hey, Bob, I'm really excited about today's conversation. We've got some of the newest blood in the Horizon League joining us. Although at the same time, I'm slightly conflicted because I love seeing people with UW Green Bay affiliations do well. I'm just slightly concerned about that. We have to see them twice in a year. And, hopefully Coach Matt takes it easy on the Phoenix to start with.
And Jim, you can find on Twitter at Jim Sarro. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can find links to all of our social media accounts and sites where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Actually, sign up for emails. We send them out every time the article post. You get it in your inbox. And you can also become a patron, patreon.com/horizonroundtable. We got our features coming up, exclusive patrons, $1 a month, patreon.com/horizonroundtable. So, Jim, as you alluded to, we're introducing the new head coach of Northern Illinois. I mean, this is like the first Northern Illinois thing since, they're not officially in the Horizon League now, but we're not fooling anybody. They are now that their season now that they're in the off season, Northern Illinois is in the Horizon League with us. So I want to introduce the new head coach of Northern Illinois, Matt Majkrzak. Coach, thank you very much for joining us. Great to have you on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and the change from the Northern Michigan green to the Northern Illinois red has been fun, and it's crazy that it's Horizon League now. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around being back in the Horizon League after being a manager at Green Bay, but it should be a lot of fun.
Well, interestingly enough, Northern Illinois is also back in the Horizon League after a almost 30-year absence. So, yeah. Well, I'll ask about that a little later on. But I need to ask a serious question. It's a hard-hitting question, and it's related to one of your tweets soon after you got the job, where I have to ask about you playing Dynasty mode on NCAA 2K with Northern Illinois. First of all, what console were you using, and how far did you get?
It was a PlayStation 3, I believe, or 2, whatever the era was at the time of it was two. I had to look up the cover because I remember the game, and it was the Raymond Felton one, so it was 2K6. So whatever.
Okay.
And my two my two most memorable dynasties was an Old Dominion football run and a Northern Illinois basketball run. So it's ironic. I don't know if 16 or 15-year-old me was planning it out at the time, but it is an interesting. Maybe I'll become the Old Dominion football coach next.
Well, that would be quite a career change.
Yeah, I got to first probably get the basketball part down, but that's my next step to fulfill all of my childhood sports goals.
There you go.
Coach, on the court, thinking about real life and not just the PlayStation 2 or 3, but I happened to watch a couple years ago, 2023, I watched you guys play Hillsdale in the NCAA tournament. So just you never know who's watching college basketball online in today's day and age. And, the Hillsdale style of basketball was, very – not a lot of guys were playing off the dribble in that game. There was a lot of sharing. And you guys had something that looked a little bit more modern where you put people in the space and let them work a little bit. At least that's what I felt like. And I took note of your introductory press conference with, talking about playing a beautiful style of basketball. So tell us, what can we expect on offense? And then also, are there any kind of key metrics when you talk about the analytical side that, when NIU hits them, you're going to be feeling really good about the game that was just played on the court?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. That Hillsdale Northern Michigan game was an incredible basketball game, and I don't think either team stopped either team the whole time. It was just, and it wasn't bad defense. It was just great shot making from both teams, and happy to end up on the good side of it. But it's one of those games you'll never forget. Analytically, so our offense last year was the third highest rated offense in the history of college basketball per offensive rating, which is kind of what I think not just us, but a lot of people are starting to use to measure offense. It's just points per possession. And it's Northwest Missouri under McCollum, I think, has the second best offense of all time in 2019, 2020. And then Illinois' offense this year, which I'm hoping they go back a little bit so we can up our number to second all time. But no, and the offensive rating was somewhere, ours was 129.1, meaning that on each possession we were scoring at about 1.29 points. That's one thing we definitely measure. The other things are, kind of how you get there, because that's the big picture thing is turnover percentage. And, you try to turn it over as little as possible. Every year I was at NMU, we were top 25 and not turning the ball over. And then what really took our offense to the next level this year was our offensive rebounding. We were able to really increase our offensive rebounding numbers. We'd always been an elite defensive rebounding team, but this year we led all of Division II in rebounding margin. And so when you combine the low turnovers with the really high rebounding numbers, then you just need the good players to make the shots.
Kind of to piggyback off of the style, I want to talk a little bit about what you're looking at as far as recruiting is concerned, kind of building your team. And of course, as we all know, when a new coach comes in, there's still players that are coming up from the previous season. I want to ask you about, the challenge of, I mean, essentially re-recruiting the players that are already that are exist on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard situation. It's been a whirlwind for a lot of reasons, but I think one of the hardest parts is you have a team you're leaving, and that's hard. And then you have a team you're coming into, and that's hard. And then how do you, kind of mesh together, all of that stuff in the portal era? Back in the day, it would be pretty simple. The players would stay and maybe one or two guys might leave, but for the most part, you just keep the team. In today's day and age, I mean, it's constant players in, players out. We haven't, we can't comment on anything, but we've had a lot of shuffling both ways, and it's an exciting time in some ways, but it's also really hard. And I think, being honest, like there's a lot of brutalness to this world we live in right now with basketball. Kids, I leave a team, that's hard, and some of the kids are going to end up in better situations because of it, but it hurts some of them, and that part's difficult. Same thing, you come in here and some of those kids are upset the previous coach got so it's difficult, and you try to, you got to do what's best for your program, but also like try to humanize it a little bit, because these are difficult conversations and these are difficult things. And as much as I'd love to just be like positive, 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 which it is. It's awesome to be a Division I coach. There's also some really difficult pieces within there, and I think that's real. But I'm excited. I think there's some things happening here that are really good. Fresh starts also can be really good, and my ultimate goal would be that the players who had eligibility remaining on both rosters and whoever else we're recruiting, I hope a year from now we all look back on it and go, man, that worked for everyone. Everybody won in this scenario. And if we can get to the everybody won phase, whatever that means, I think that should be the goal. And it truly is my goal.
Coach, you were talking about rebounding and how much that improved for you at NMU. Obviously, in the Midwest, rebounding is something people love to see. Rebounding has evolved over time. Are you a traditional box out guy, hit and get, play through the chest, control the chest? Are you sending certain amounts of guys to the glass? Like, what made the difference to elevate that rebounding for you? Or is it really truly game specific and specific to the players that you're going to go against?
No, I think hit and get probably the most of those, if those were the options. But I think it's just get the ball. Like I think sometimes there's certain things that we probably overcoach. Rebounding's not one of them. It's just see ball, get ball, end up with it in your hands. I think the more you can focus on the main thing being the main thing. On the offensive side, we definitely crashed more people this year. We crashed five a lot. I would think that's one of the things going from Division II to Division I. We'll probably have to reevaluate a little bit. There's also some idea of, I think you can be a really good defensive rebounding team right away just by emphasizing it. I think you can take care of the ball right away. I think the offensive rebounding, that takes having better players. And in some ways, because our goal was to try to win the national title, which we fell short of, but also win the conference and win as many games as possible. The crashing five just increased the ability to make sure you beat the teams that you were better than. If you're coming into a new situation, I don't know what a roster is. I hope we have the best roster in the league, and then we'll crash five again. My assumption would be, we might not quite have that talent gap that we felt like we had at Northern Michigan here in year one. So we might have to tone back some of that a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of to piggyback off of that, you talk about that transition from Division II to Division I. Obviously, in the Horizon League, we've seen a lot of Division II coaches coming through. I mean, good examples, of course, Jared Calhoun, who is now the Cincinnati head coach. Most recent examples, of course, being Ben Howlett coming from West Liberty going to IU Indy. Do you when you look at kind of the landscape, as it relate and the style you played in Division II, where do you see kind of some of the similarities between the two divisions, and where do you see kind of opportunities to where you may feel you need to make some adjustments, or are you too a little early in the process for that?
No, I think it's a fair. I mean, I've thought about it a lot. Obviously, this opportunity just happened, but you think about it. You want to, you watch. I have a bunch of buddies that are in Division I in various leagues. I've watched a lot of Horizon League. Our associate head coach at Northern Michigan went to Green Bay last year, so I probably watched, I don't know, 15, 20 of those games. And I think the basketball is basketball. So at the end of the day, there's a lot more that's the same than different in terms of the basketball. I think there's probably more changes in terms of recruiting and operations and some of that type of things. Saying that, the basketball changes, the top end of D2 is probably similar to the bottom end of D1. So you get like this, carryover. I think the difference is going to be the Horizon League isn't the bottom. So there's a gap that does exist. And I think you saw it. You've seen it with a lot of the D2 coaches transition in, maybe with the exception of Ben McCollum, where they can't just right away do the exact same things and achieve success. So we're going to have to blend a lot of what we did, maybe, similar things that we did, similar players, all that. But we're going to have to also evolve a little bit and change some of what we did. And I think if you look at the trajectory of the D2 guys, a lot of them have been successful, but they're not always successful right away. And that's kind of that secret sauce we're searching for right now is how do we make that jump fast? Because I don't want to, I mean, we've gotten to cut down a net 4 years in a row. Like that's the goal. Like, we're not going to change the goal, but we also know that we got to change ourselves a little bit to get to that goal here. And it's going to be a learning process. We're going to screw some things up. Hopefully we get more right than we get wrong. But the one thing I do know is the main things, i.e. taking care of the ball, rebounding, having great people, hiring great coaches, caring about each other. That stuff isn't going to change because that translates from, high major all the way down to, junior college, which I coach.
Also, as a follow-up, as I alluded to, of course, Northern Illinois is switching divisions. They're making their own, as you're making your transition from Division II to Division I, Northern Illinois is making their own transition from the MAC to the Horizon League. Do you consider it an advantage that you're coming in this fresh and not having to kind of worry about what transpired in the MAC and just moving forward kind of fresh into the Horizon League?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? Like a new coach going into the new league, probably. So a lot of the things that we would have to learn, i.e., like, what do we do on trips? Well, no one knows, so we'll figure it out. Like, there's going to be a lot of like joint trying to figure these things out together, and I think that part's kind of exciting, and it probably, in some ways, makes a new coach a little less daunting just because everything's going to be new anyway. So we might as well kind of go into this together new. And, from silly things like we need some new jerseys because they have Mac on them. Like, all right, well, cool. I got to come in at the point where we get to pick new jerseys. Like, it's just like, it makes sense just from a big picture way to come into a new league as you're the new coach. I think it would probably be a harder transition if you were in the old league for a few years and then all of a sudden, the rules changed because you changed your league. This probably makes a little more sense in some ways.
Coach, you're talking about as your roster adjusts and, as some of the D2 players that, may have put out that they're going to be joining you on social media as they get adjusted to D1. Speak to us a little bit about Wisconsin had been very important and very kind to you in terms of recruiting at NMU. And I assume that that's part of the plan moving forward. But then also you have this tremendous fertile territory in Illinois to recruit to, although super competitive. So speak a little bit about the plan to continue to recruit those areas going forward as maybe a base of operations for building up your roster at NIU.
Yeah, as a Green Bay guy, I feel like you're trying to get me in trouble, but no,
Oh
well, I did when I was at Northern Michigan. The Northerns thing is when I was at Northern Michigan early on, we put out something like we're Wisconsin's D2 school. We didn't even put it out like publicly, but we put it out to recruits. And obviously UW Parkside got wind of it and didn't like it very much. I think I will tone down the rhetoric a little. I've matured a little bit, but at the same time, like we are who we are. We're going to be very strong in Wisconsin. We're going to be very prevalent in Wisconsin. And it's all my buddies and friends are the Wisconsin high school and AAU coaches. So I don't see that changing. But I think the part that you said is where I'm really excited is the Illinois area and even like our location to Iowa. Minnesota is not that far away, and there's not a lot of Division I schools in Minnesota. Obviously, St. Thomas adding is big, but Iowa has Northern Iowa State, but there's some room in Iowa. So, but Illinois is, like you said, this kind of oddity right now for Northern Illinois because it's obviously one of the best basketball states, but everybody recruits it like nationally. It's in a way a hard place to get into. But because you're local, I think the advantage is we got to find those kids that want to stay home. And it's not going to be every kid. And, I don't see, a top 100 player from Illinois wanting to go to NIU yet. And the fun part is, could you flip it? Could you turn it into that long term? And I think that's what other spots I've been in and just watching others. If we win, all of a sudden we're going to have access to a higher level Illinois kid that we didn't have access to before. But it's probably a little bit chicken and egg. We got to try to get one or two of those guys to start the process. And then I think as the success comes in, I think people will be surprised what high level kids we're actually able to pull from, the Chicago area. It doesn't need to be Chicago always, but we're only an hour away. And there's one more hidden advantage to that, which is the Chicago airport's 55 minutes away. And in the portal world we live in, the portal can be a little more national recruiting. Well, it's really easy to nationally recruit when you have one of the biggest airports in the country 55 minutes away.
Everybody's on a direct flight to you, basically. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's huge. I've been here a week. It's a huge help. Like it just makes his life a lot easier, and you can get more kids in, more kids out, and not to mention once they get here, it's easier for them to go home and visit family and travel and do all those types of things.
Yeah, Coach, with the question about the Wisconsin, I just feel like Wisconsin basketball, as in general, is maybe a little slept on. Because there's Milwaukee, but then the rest of the state has really good basketball too. And I don't think people necessarily fully understand that. So I was kind of want more talk about like, hey, that's been really. I mean, you found some guys in some random places that end up being major ballers for you. So
for sure,
yeah.
So actually, I'm going to beat Jim to this, even though he's the Green Bay guy and I'm not. I wanted to talk about kind of your time at Green Bay as a student assistant because if I recall correctly, you were a student assistant certainly under Brian Wardle and I believe also Todd Kowalczyk.
Both, yeah.
Yeah, and I did happen to notice that I did notice when you get you were announced as the head coach. I know Kiefer Sykes had made a comment about congratulating you, and I know that and I feel like the timelines are correct. Where not only he was there, but a guy like Alec Brown was there as well. What is it when you were at Green Bay, just seeing kind of, especially because we've had Kiefer on the podcast before and we talked about his overall development and his love of Green Bay. What is it like? What was it like to see kind of the beginnings of his career and What do you what is that? What is the lessons you take from kind of witnessing that initially as you carried forward into your own coaching career?
Yeah, I had to chuckle when you said the beginnings of his career because Kiefer's uh, recruiting visit um, ended at my house in the garage as we had some people over after a game. So I was there. I was there at the very beginnings. It was Ramon Fletcher and Kiefer talking about why he should come to Green Bay and the legacy he could leave. And his freshman year was my senior year there. And so it's kind of a like literally I was there on the visit and hosted part of the visit. So which is a story for off air. But is no, it's cool. Like the thing with the Green Bay experience is, I could play some Division III sports, but I wanted to coach, and I emailed the entire Green Bay staff, which at the time was Wardle was the assistant, and Wardle called me, which is a good lesson because it's kind of cool that the top assistant called the manager and said, "Well, if you want to be a manager, just show up." So pretty much I showed up, and the first year or two, I was wiping up sweat and all that kind of stuff, and then Todd left to take the Toledo job and Wardle got promoted to head coach. And in that interim process, I was there, and there wasn't many people there. So it was me and Colin Schneider, who's now the associate head coach at Edwardsville, and Wardle. Those were like the only three people there for like the month as the process was going on. And so then that last 2 years, I did a little bit more coaching stuff. And I think that's really when I got learned a lot about college basketball. The thing that's absolutely crazy when you look back on it is that group that Wardle brought in is like, so Brian Maroney's the head coach at Edwardsville. Jimmy Foster, who's at Colorado State now. Chris Cornelius, who's been around. Colin was the ops guy. He's now the associate head coach at Edwardsville. And Andrew Gavin, also now at Edwardsville, but was the SID. Like it was just like everybody who was there coaching wise. And I was a manager. Another one of our managers ended up being an NBA assistant. It was just like this talent everywhere, but we didn't realize it. We're all just kind of figuring it out. And then you add in it's Kiefer, played in the NBA. Alec got drafted. Alfonso McKinney started in I think the NBA Finals. There's just all of these people that had this unbelievable amount of success, and I don't know. I feel like we all kind of helped each other out because I was a lower end person for sure. I was the manager, but it was you learn from all these people that were so smart, and it almost felt like now when you look back in hindsight, it's like, well, of course I ended up becoming a coach because I had learned from all these people that were so good. I just didn't know at the time how much I was probably learning.
Coach, along the same lines, you talked about the mentors that you had that maybe you didn't understand, through Green Bay, because obviously Coach Wardle and Coach Kowalczyk have gone on to have great success in their careers. Are there some coaches that either are mentors outside of that or people that you just admire when you watch their film? I know you're probably like a slap on the glass kind of guy. Are there some guys that you like, I really like what they do? And who would be maybe some of those people that have also influenced your coaching style?
Yeah, I got to do slapping glass, which was awesome. That was like a cool, like, I think I made it bucket list item. But yeah, I'm a big love like just watching basketball, and I try my hardest, and maybe I'll do it even more now that I am Division 1. NAI, perfect. Like, let's watch NAI, let's watch D2, let's watch D3. But what's been fun is I feel like Division 1 basketball started catching up a couple years ago. Like for a while there, every Division 1 ran boring, basic offense. Not every, but it was kind of the trend was this boring, basic offense. And now I feel like the Division 1 teams are running as exotic and fun offenses as the D2s and D3s used to run. So it's kind of spread a little bit that way where I'm watching more and more of the D1 stuff anyway. Ben McCollum, like, first of all, I don't have this job if it isn't for Ben McCollum, Josh Schertz, Jerry Calhoun. Like, those guys are why Division 2 coaches now are getting chances. And for those guys to get the chances, they had to win, multiple national titles and do all these things. And that allows, we've won the league 4 straight times, but we haven't won a national title. But those guys opened the door and kind of paved the way for some of us to get jobs. Hopefully, we can all, as a group of young D2 guys that got chances, keep opening the doors for, whether not just D2. I think there's a lot of great, especially in Wisconsin, D3 coaches that should get jobs, and NAI guys, and there's great basketball at all levels. But as far as like who we watch the most, I've probably watched every offensive possession Ben McCollum's coached in the last 10 years, 12 years. It's been one of the bigger influences. Hillsdale, which you mentioned, like their motion stuff when we prepared for it that year really changed how we played, and we added a lot of motion principles. UConn is kind of an easy answer, but it's an easy answer probably because it's the right answer. Um, Watch a lot of St. Thomas. I've really enjoyed watching how they play offense. I think they're unique in a lot of ways. I used to watch a lot of Davidson. I haven't watched as much lately. But yeah, I think it's the beautiful thing with Synergy now is you just click on best offenses and you just sit and watch what different people do, and you really can take a lot of things out of that.
So one of the things I wanted to ask is related to not just is about kind of building your coaching staff now at Northern Illinois. Is there a specific skill set that you're looking for when you are looking and identifying the guys that you want on your staff moving forward?
Yeah, can we publicly say my staff is full so I stop getting calls and texts? That would be a
Why,
super
yes.
that
I'm
would be a
assuming there's
super
some
helpful.
HR thing that's going on that they have to process all it and then they can officially announce it.
I'm that's
So wait,
that's
Matt,
true.
that's
What's
why you didn't get back to me when I asked?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry about that. I no, I
Experience. It was just that it's full, right? I just want to make sure that I had
yeah,
an
yeah,
outside.
yeah. Yeah. But HR I can't comment, but it's full. No, I think
There you go.
if you ask any, it's actually like a running joke now. Like it's like it must be like the secret no one tells you. And now I'm spilling the beans. I'm bad at keeping
Yeah.
secrets. Every Division 1 coach that I'm friends with that has gotten a job in the last like 5 years has sent me a text like, how do you feel about the amount of people that are trying to get on staff? Like it's cool, right? Like it's the same as the players. Like you want to get back to everyone, but I had 872 unread texts, and for us,
Oh man.
I also got the job right during our tournament run. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to coach in the NCAA tournament, and I mean I'm looking at my phone going like I can't do it. And some of the people are people I love, and I just didn't have time to get back to them. And I'm caught up. I zeroed it out this morning, which was a huge accomplishment.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it felt like a big moment. So I'm sure it's back up to like 70 or 80 now. But no, I think I'm joking, but not really. It's
Sure.
overwhelming the amount of interest you have because there's a lot of people that want to coach Division 1 basketball. And, I think even more so when it's in a location that I think is appealing to a lot of people because there's a lot of great basketball people within 100 and 200 miles of where we are. And it's been an interesting process. At the same time, I don't know how everyone assembles their staff. For me, the biggest things was people I know. I got, and again, I can't probably talk specifics because of all the HR stuff, but some of it's out
Hmm.
there anyway. I got this job because of the players that committed to me at Northern Michigan and the coaches that coached with me at Northern Michigan. That's why I got the job. And
Sure.
that's important to remember, I think, when you're assembling a team or a staff, because
Hmm.
it was not if NIU is willing to take a chance on a D2 head coach, well, I'm going to do the same thing with our staff and our players. So I think that was huge for me to start with. And then you do need to bring in some people that have different perspectives in you. And we needed some guys with Division 1
Hmm.
experience and guys who've recruited at this level before. And as you're doing it, you're trying to kind of mix and match personalities, mix and match strengths. And eventually, what you want is a group that is different, but then at the end of the day, you feel like you can have together on the same page. And I'm lucky, when you do this for a while, you make a lot of good friends. We're gonna have a lot of my good friends on staff, and then we're gonna have a couple people that I know, but I'm not as close with. And I think that's a really healthy mix of just differing opinions that hopefully will kind of lead us in the right direction year one. And the other thing I'd say is I wanted great basketball people, like people that loved ball and knew ball, but more importantly, love ball. And I want people who can sit in the office and we can chat about the intricacies of zone and never play zone because we just want to talk ball. And that was a priority for me, maybe over other things. Because as a younger coach, I know that people weren't reaching out to me to be on D1 staffs because I hadn't been a D1 guy before. And I now have the chance to kind of fix that and pick the people that I've grown the most fond of and like the most. Now the hard part is that list was about 40 or 50 and of people I wanted to be on staff. And you have to narrow it down to 4 or 5. And that's the hard part, is there was a lot more. I think we had a lot more awesome people that I wanted to be around day in and day out and learn from than we had spots. And picking that was another one of those kind of hard moments within a lot of good moments.
I should let you in on a little secret. If any of the prospective assistants are following us on Twitter, I'm using my powers of deduction. Like, it's not official, but why are you following me now? The good news, the funny part is, this was the funny thing is that when we had Ben Howlett on last year, he is absolutely not on social media, so we can't get a read on the guy.
I am on social media. If
Yes.
there's any flaws I have, it's not my lack of social media. I am disappointed that no matter how hard I try, I will not be the most entertaining social media follow in the league. Like I could try so hard and I'm still gonna at best finish second. So that's a little sad for me, but
Yeah.
I think I'll recover. But I'm gonna make a strong push.
Yes. Actually, that was kind of a giveaway for us because when we followed you, even before it was announced that you were a thing, you followed us back, and I'm like, yeah, I think he might have got a job. He might have gotten the job.
It was the worst kept secret in college
It,
basketball. Like I
I mean,
here
you couldn't
here
really do anything because, like you said, you were in the middle of tournament basketball yourself, so you really
I'll,
couldn't say anything.
I'll give you the A story. So this is my favorite one is and this is the power of social media. So I got done. I hadn't had the job yet. Like no one had offered me the job. I'd interviewed and I told our team I had interviewed. Like I just wanted to let them know. But we're in practice, so we're not even there yet. And my watch starts going nuclear. I mean, it's like bop, 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 bop. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and I knew I wasn't gonna get offered the job that day. Like, I kind of knew the timeline. So I pick up my phone, 200 texts in an hour
Hmm.
practice. One of the burner accounts tweeted that I was named the new coach at NIU, and I was like, okay, I haven't been because I would know, I think.
Yeah,
My agent didn't know. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I wanted this job really bad. I'm like, if this is like not true now, this is gonna be gut wrenching. That's all I could think about. I'm like, if I don't get this now that the burner said I did, and people are texting me congrats, like people are calling. My wife's like, what the heck is going on? Like why am because someone texts her the tweet, and
yeah.
it was a completely wild scenario. So yeah, I mean, by the time I actually did get the job, I started following some people back, liking some things, and I knew it was a little different when someone on the NIU forums posted that I liked their or followed them as the tea leaves that it probably was real. So it was real at that point.
Yeah, see, there you go. Oh, you've been so you admit you've been on the NIU forums. We've been there
Oh,
a couple of times. That's an interesting place.
hey, I love it. I love it until I lose, and then I won't look anymore. But I know I actually followed it closely with the job stuff because I wanted to know what was
Sure.
going on. And people can say what they want, but those burners and forums, they get more right than they get wrong. So there's a lot of information out there if you want to find
That
it.
is a yeah. Shout out to Trilly Donovan. I'd like best $10 a month I've ever spent.
Sure. I'm not too proud or too cool to admit that during this process I wasn't pretty dialed into a lot of that stuff.
Hey, Matt, you're talking about coaching staff, and then you also mentioned your wife texting you. You are not the only accomplished head coach in your house. Different sports, right? But how much of like do you guys like just talk about like the mentorship of kids ever, or are you like, hey, that's are you like cooks that don't like to cook for yourself at home? Like, how do you guys handle both being head coaches?
Yeah, it's a great question. She had got hired 3 weeks after me at Northern Michigan. So I had gotten hired, and then they hired Lindsay about 3 weeks later, and we went to a happy hour trivia, and I text jokingly because I thought our team that year was going to be really bad. It was year one. I'm like, I might have to head out for happy hour at like 3 p.m. or something. Well, she thought I was serious and got there at 3 p.m. because she thought that was the time. So I haven't fully recovered yet from that mistake. But I got there early and we started talking, and that's kind of how we started. She asked me about Northern Michigan and what she needed to know, and next thing you know, we're married. So it's been fun, obviously sharing a lot of like the same stuff that happens. Early on it was probably me helping her a little bit with recruiting and stuff because I'd coached longer than her. Now it's mostly her helping me with everything and me just kind of listening. Every now and then she will ask me for technical lacrosse advice, which there's enough similarities, but unfortunately I only get asked when things are going bad. She's like, well,
Yeah.
can you just watch the offense and let me know what you see? And then I usually get about a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I get cut off and get told to go back to being a fan. I'm not a good fan. I have opinions. Those are not good. I need to have less opinions. They play at 5 p.m. today. If they win, I think they're going to win the league title. I think. So I'm kind of prepping that. We will be doing some recruiting, but I'm definitely gonna be watching some NMU lacrosse today.
Nice. And lacrosse, they sub on the fly on that, right? Like a hockey game.
Yeah, sub on the fly, and you can like rotate offense and defense. I know a lot about I know a lot about women's lacrosse. It's became a passion hobby of mine.
Yeah, you just anytime she tries to step in, you be like, "Babe, we need 5 people on the court to start with." Talking to you, Nebraska, and we can't change them
Oh
just because
man.
the ball's going on the other side of the court. Anyway, I digress. Bob, can I jump in on another? I only have one more serious question and a couple of that.
Sure, I was gonna say shout out to former Robert Morris player Alvaro Forgueros for taking advantage of that 5-on-4. By the way,
Yep. Man, I know you're brand new to Cal, but one of the things I took note of that Northern Michigan did in the not too distant past, you guys went from the Barry Arena, a hockey specific building, to the Vandermont, a much more intimate spot for basketball. Obviously, you've built a tremendous amount of ground interest in NMU basketball. The Convocation Center is a wonderful building. I have been there for basketball, but it is big unless an undefeated Miami of Ohio is coming to town. Do you have any thoughts around how do you make, while you're building the interest in DeKalb from ground zero, have you put any thought around what do you have to do with the building to really make it feel like a great place to watch basketball? Or is it's just as simple as we're going to play a good brand of basketball and the word's going to get out, people are going to come here? But just kind of curious because you guys went through a building change specifically geared towards basketball in your NMU time. So
Yeah, I have not like experienced it. So anything I say is just me guessing. What I do like from what I've seen is it's got like the lower bowl, and then there's some space with those upper bleachers. So I think in some ways the more you can bring it into that lower bowl, it would be on the small side, but it would be a perfect sized small arena. But it's kind of nice because then you also have like there's really nice luxury boxes and all that on the second level. So if you can like to me bring it in on some of the sides and then kind of focus it up towards the boxes and try to kind of draw it in, I think it could be a really, really almost perfect sized feel. Obviously 10,000 people, we got to do a lot to get it there. But I think we can make it into this, more intimate setting. And even just from what I've seen, they do a good job already of kind of narrowing that focus down to that lower bowl with some extra seats leading up to the luxury boxes. So it's interesting. I know we started selling out at Northern Michigan this year because we went to the smaller arena and then everyone wanted the big arena back. Like, I don't know. There's no right answer ever. I think the biggest thing is if you win and you can generate those authentic relationships, more and more people come. And it's so far there is way more, and it makes sense. There's way more basketball interest here than I would have ever imagined. Like, it's a basketball area. Northern Illinois, the region, is a basketball area, and people want NIU to be really good. It's just hard to, and I went through this at Northern Michigan. It's really hard to go when it's a losing product. Like, I don't blame people. I don't know if I'd go, but if we can turn it, there's a lot of loyal people who've kept going, and then let's turn it around, and then let's use those loyal people that never gave up to draw more people in. And I think we can do it, and I think we can grow our crowds in a huge way. But success on the court has to be part of that.
I want to piggyback off that a little bit because one of the things that struck me during your introductory press conference is the questions that were coming not from the media, but for the fans who have apparently been there since the beginning of time. Um, I guess my question is, when you were hearing, because, and they were as probably as blunt as I've ever heard any fan be that isn't, sitting on a Twitter account or anything.
For sure.
But when you look at when you have that, when you listen to the kind of the concerns, and I understand because as I'm sure you know, Northern Illinois has been kind of in a rut for a good long while, as you obviously heard. When you hear kind of the those fans who were able to have a be in attendance during the press conference, how does that motivate you going into this, um to listen to what to hear what their concerns are and kind of press forward?
Yeah, I first of all, I like it. Like, it's funny because people were like, "Oh, they asked some hard questions." I'm like, "No, they didn't. They asked, I mean, what are we doing? We can't lie about what's happened. It's been bad." Like, we all that sports is this beautiful thing because they give you a record and there's a score and then there's a record, and at the end of the day, the scores have been bad and the record's been worse. Like, so what are you gonna do? Like, no one's happy about it. Like, I wouldn't be either. And I think that's maybe it's because, I took over a JUCO program that was in year 3 or 4, and didn't even know what it was, and we won. And then at Northern Michigan, the only reason they hired a JUCO guy was no one wanted the job because it was so bad, and that you played in a hockey arena and the location was hard and you can't win there. And everybody said we couldn't win there, and then we won. This was different because I actually think a lot of people wanted the job because it's Division 1, and moving to the Horizon, I think, is a good move for it and all that. But it's the same in that we either can lie about it, or we can just tell the truth and say, yeah, it's been bad, and yep, it's fallen on really, really hard times, and yep, it's got to get better. But you can't get it better if you're not willing to embrace where it's been, and know that that's true. And I love those questions. The fact people are there and willing to ask those questions puts us ahead of a heck of a lot of places in the country, because there's a lot of press conferences I've watched that don't have as many people there than we had. And would you rather have them still there fighting and asking hard questions, or would you rather have them not showing up anymore? Because I'd much rather have those people there and talking. And those are the core group of people. Those are the ones that I hope can see progress first. Come to practice, like, watch how hard we play. Will the results be there? I sure hope so. But at minimum, we're gonna fight and compete and claw. And the reason that I got the job as a Division 2 guy, and the reason I got the job as a Division 2 guy from the UP of Michigan, is because they knew they needed to do something a little bit different in order to change that history. And I think we're going to. I'm really confident we're going to long term. I'm cautiously optimistic we can do it short term, but the fact there's still people that fight and care, I'll take that all day. I loved it, and to me, it was a huge positive, not a negative.
Sure.
Hey, Bob, I'm just down to 4 fun questions about Matt. So if you have any serious basketball things, keep firing away. Otherwise, let me.
So
Yeah.
I did actually want to talk about one prominent Northern Michigan alumni. I think you know I'm going to talk about Tom Izzo. And
I figured that's where you were going. It could be Steve Mariucci though, too.
I mean, true, but Steve Mariucci isn't coaching anymore. But Tom Izzo most absolutely certainly is. Um, and to have an exhibition, and if I remember correctly, he brought Michigan State up to Northern Michigan to play an exhibition. Um, what can you kind of describe the impact of having a guy who is basically an institution, not just in Michigan State, but in Division One basketball in general, um, coming up and basically supporting his alma mater by bringing his team up to play in an exhibition like that.
Yeah, and it was the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. Like it was unbelievable and it was so awesome. And there's, I could talk about it for hours because there were so many different parts that I just loved about that weekend. But I think the way I was really happy that he did it after our program had started to go a little bit, because instead of it just being about just him, which it was, it was the Tom Izzo day. And there were 11, 12,000 people there to see Tom Izzo, and it was on Big Ten Network, and Bill Raftery was there. But it also was at a really good time for our program where it felt like we were celebrating Northern Michigan basketball, past and present and future, while also celebrating Tom Izzo. And every basket that happened in that gym, everybody cheered. Like Michigan State would score, we'd score. It was this unique environment you'll never get again. And he's the only one crazy enough to go do it. Like he plays on aircraft carriers. We made a wooden dome, football dome, look like a Final Four, and it was just awesome. But I would also say this, like that experience for me selfishly, like I learned so much just like watching how that levels operated, the way their players carried themselves, like how classy they were. They were like the most appreciative. Jace Richardson was like thanking me for having them play in the game. And they just were different, and you can see why they've been so successful. And even like just all the media. I mean, I had a hot mic got handed to me on a whim with 12,000 people because Coach Izzo was talking to Bill Raftery, and I had to stall because he wanted to address the crowd, but he had to do his Big Ten interview first. That took way too long. I had like 2 minutes of stalling. I was about to start singing Sweet Caroline. Like it was this close. Like I was like, I don't know what to say anymore. But just all of that weekend, I feel like it was such a learning experience for me and our players, and such a cool opportunity, not just for us, but for the Upper Peninsula in general. And the way that he's given back to that place, is something that it means more to me than all the success he's had.
All right, Matt, a couple quick questions. We talked about rebounding. It was hit and get. These are going to be like hit and quick questions. All right. These are not meant to be overthought. They're just meant to be silly. So, you don't get where you've gotten in your career now without people supporting you, and so I think about you've gone from being a Bobcat to a Wildcat to a Husky. Are you concerned about the mass hysteria you're about to cause with dogs and cats having to live together?
No, because the dog in my house is very happy that I don't tell him that we have to boo the dogs every time we play Michigan Tech or Ferris State. So it's going to be a little bit easier for my black golden doodle to embrace being a black husky. I think it's closer at least. So no, I think we're good. I think we're trending in the right direction.
Perfect. I have to say that Bob pointed this out, that the NMU website had the phonetic spelling of your name. And I was like, it hurt my soul to know that Magic isn't how you start your last name, that the J is like non-existent. But with that said, as a throwback, you're talking about Steve Mariucci, maybe a throwback to the Don Majkowski era. Can we play Magic Man in the Convocation Center anytime NIU wins a home game in honor of your name looking like Magic?
Sure, unless we can sign a player that has a request of what song they want to hear, who's going to be our best player, because then they can play whatever they want after each win.
I didn't know that was a thing in today's era, but yes, that makes way more sense.
I don't know if it is either. I don't know if it's legal, but if it's legal, we're going to do it.
You said you were about to sing Sweet Caroline to the 12,000 people in attendance at the Michigan State game. You obviously probably been on the road a lot lately, going from northern Michigan to northern Illinois. If you're driving an hour in your car, are you a podcaster or a music guy? And if so, what do you got on?
Lately, I'm a phone guy because obvious reasons, but in general, I'm probably more of a podcast guy, basketball podcast in some way, shape, or form. I wish I was more exciting, but it's kind of, I do like me some murder mysteries when I really don't want to think about basketball anymore, which is usually in season. So like some of those like true crime things, I've been hooked on a couple of those.
Fair enough.
I just want to point out the fact that as a basketball podcast, we appreciate basketball. People who listen to coaches listen to basketball podcasts.
It makes sense, right? Yeah.
And then my last one, we're in the Convocation Center. You're going to play one-on-one against Keel Gans. Who's winning?
Easy answer, me. And it's verified for a couple of reasons, but the biggest one is we had a manager at Northern Michigan that Dom, shout out Dom, and Keel played him in one-on-one and lost, and I played him at one-on-one and won. So we haven't directly played in a long time, but based on the transitive property, there's no doubt I'm winning. Plus, it's my home court. You gave me. It's too easy now.
Fine, we'll put a neutral site somewhere dead center in the middle. You're playing at the in the Dells at the what's that thing called? Just a game. Just a game.
Yeah,
Does that change anything?
No. He's not tough enough.
Wow.
I love it. Those are the only questions I have. I really appreciate you indulging my sense of humor here. So,
in fact, I got to take a shot at Keel today. Was another. I just got off the phone with him, so it's like another victory. Like this, any podcast that allows me to take a shot at Keel, I'm a big fan of.
Well, since you're all in the Horizon League right now, I mean, hey, there you go. It's on topic for us.
Well, it kind of sucks because like I was best man at his wedding, he was best man at my wedding, and we really can't talk right now. So there's a little problem there, but other than that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, I knew what needed to be done here and how we needed to close it out. That's your guy. And if it's truly your guy, you got to take a little jab, especially knowing that you're a Green Bay guy and as by background that you had such a tremendous experience there. But yeah, that's all I have. Bob, anything else that you have to wrap up with, Coach?
No, that's all I have. Coach, thank you very much for joining us. We always enjoy having coaches on, but we especially enjoy having coaches on who just came into the Horizon League and they have absolutely no idea who we are. So thanks for joining us. Really appreciate the conversation. You mentioned you're online. Tell us where we can find you online.
Matt Majkrzak. Good luck finding it. But Majkrzak. Yeah, I'll have some. We'll make it fun. We're gonna try to enjoy this. It's basketball. This isn't that serious. We need to make it as fun as we can.
All right, and that's gonna wrap it up for us. We're off next week because it's Easter weekend. We're not doing anything. Tune in next week. Tune in the week after because the portal actually opens for real this on the 7th. So Jim and I are going to have lots to talk about. Until then, horizonroundtable.com. That's where you can find all our podcasts and articles. You can pull us up wherever podcasts are available. You can pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices. So tune in next time. Until then, thank you all for listening.